Slide there. We're going to have a general questions for each of the candidates. After the question is asked, each candidate has 2 minutes to answer. The yellow will go up at 1.5, and then the red at 2 for a hard stop. After we get through phase 1, and then let you know that, then we're going to move into phase 2. Each of the candidates will have the ability to ask only one other candidate one question, and the 2-minute answer applies. So each candidate can ask another candidate, only one candidate, one question. Then if you haven't filled out questions for the candidates, please, as Suzanne said, fill those out, because the next part will be questions from the audience. And it'll also be the 2-minute answer for those, and then we'll move into closing. Did the candidates understand the rules that we're following today?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions before we get started? All right. So the first 3 questions we're gonna start with, and can I just call you Austin,
Yes,
Bud, and Carrie? All right. First question is for Austin. What are the responsibilities of a?
We're going to do the 3-minute filter.
Oh, thank you. I didn't want to take that away from you. I'm just so excited about these questions. All right, let's get started with the openings. So, Austin, you have 3 minutes.
Is my mic on? Check. Okay. My name's Austin Talley. My family has been in Texas since 1820. My mother's side is Colonel James Neal, Battle of Gonzales. So we have a long history of being pro Second Amendment. On my father's side is Edward Burleson, the Vice President of Texas who founded Hays County. So I have deep roots and fondness for Texas as well as this area. On Edward Burleson's gravestone it says soldier and statesman, and that's what I hope to have on my gravestone. I've been a veteran for 16 years. I did Navy, then Army. I took those skill sets of knowing how to unite a team, complete objectives, mission success no matter what, I took to the entrepreneur world. But while I was trying to become an entrepreneur, I took a job to keep the lights on. And I worked for the city of Austin, the fastest growing city in the nation. I took it as transportation infrastructure division manager. So I know a lot about textile as well, and the transportation issues that we have here in Dripping Springs on 290. I run 3 national nonprofits and 2 local nonprofits. That taught me to be a good steward of donor dollars, which I think is a necessity to be a good steward of tax dollars. Instead of reaching my hand out asking for more taxes, I think the government should be giving you more back. I run 5 for-profit companies as well, or 2 successful ones presently is in oil and gas, and as well as in development. Currently got a $150 million development deal in North Texas. I'm quite proud of, because we're going to be employing a lot of veterans. And I think that's what we need to do, is meaningful solutions that execute properly. The Republican Party has controlled the House, the Senate, and the governor's office since 2006. We've had the trifecta. Why are we still talking about tax reform? Why are we still talking about education? Why are we still talking about Second Amendment and sex education? We should have those things already resolved. They're on our plank. Let's resolve our plank. Top priorities. I'm Austin Talley. Grandpa used to call me Austin, Texas, Seguin, as well as Amarillo. It used to drive me crazy. But the name's Austin Talley. I love this state. I was willing to die for it. I did 7 years out of a 9.5-year rotation. I know I have a perspective. And as Colonel Jacobs would say, I'm not getting shot at, and I'm not getting blown up, so I can do this job. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Bud, you ready for your 3 minutes?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me? What a wonderful event. Thank you to the North Hays Republican Group for putting this on. Suzanne, everyone give a round of applause. Hats off to you. You know, to me, this comes down to community. Loving this community, having roots in this community, and I'll take you back to my first recollections of being here. I was born in Midland, Texas, but the real estate market was booming here. And so my dad said, I'm gonna go build homes in Central Texas. And he did. And eventually we were all down here, and the real estate market was great. Life was good. And I was a very young boy. I don't have recollections of it. But what I remember is when the real estate market went bust, the only tough times I remember is this. See, we'd have cream of wheat for breakfast and for dinner. And my favorite meal of the day, best meal of the day, was the school lunch. So my dad comes home one night and he says to my sister and me, and we're about 5 or 6 at that time, he says, "I've got something new for dinner." And we were excited. We were jumping up and down. We said, "What is it?" He said, "It's cream of rice." But despite that, I didn't know that times were tough. All I knew is that when we were home, we had love. I know my dad worked hard and he built an insurance business. My mom went back to school at Texas State, then Southwest Texas. She became a teacher. She worked in the Hayes School District where I grew up. She was a principal. One of the most well-respected people that I know in that part of the county. And when I walk around the county, in the Butte Kyle area, people don't know me as Bud. They say, "Oh, you're Jody's son." And I'm proud of that because it's part of being invested in the community. And that's what I want to do for this community. Give it a voice that's not about politics, not about what we see on the national level, not about the vitriol and the hate. When you look up on the screen and you see Nancy Pelosi, who can't bring herself to stand up for just a minute and recognize someone that is given so selflessly to the country. I'm up. Can you hear me? Is it here? But she can't recognize that. What we need to have locally is something that expects and demands better. Our current representative doesn't meet with the conservative expectations of our district. She doesn't love this place. And I think this district deserves a representative that is devoted.
He's gripping his mic. Okay.
I'm going to put it down. I'm going to put it down. Can you hear me? Yes. No. How about now? All right. Is it working? Yes. Good. I believe this district deserves someone that is going to show that same level of devotion. That isn't just going to be here when politics is on the table, but is going to be here for the long haul. I'm proud that my 4 children are going to the same public schools I grew up in. I've got the hard count. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
It wasn't.
Carrie, are you ready for your 3 minutes? Please begin.
Hi, I'm Carrie Isaac. I'm running to be your state representative. I know many of you in this audience because I've been politically active in this community for 10 years. Many of you have watched my boys grow from toddlers to teenagers. My husband of 19 years fought for issues important to this district in the Texas House for 8 years. Sadly, we are now represented by a self-proclaimed socialist Democrat. And I am running to bring back our conservative voice. I'm a tenacious and I'm a fighter for our freedoms and our values important to this district and to this state. I understand that property taxes are out of control and have created a burden on our working families, our small businesses, and our seniors. And I will fight to reform our property tax system to alleviate that burden. I know that small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and I will work to cut regulations and red tape that make it hard for our small businesses to survive. I stand with President Trump. We've got to secure our border. I will work to direct funding to fully support border security, to keep our communities and our families safe. I'm endorsed by the NRA and Texas State Rifle Association. I'm the only non-incumbent in the state of Texas endorsed by the NRA. They know my history of activism to protect our Second Amendments. I'm endorsed by Texas Right to Life, Pro-Life Texas, and Texas Values Action. I will unapologetically fight for unborn children's right to life. I'm committed to our teachers and our students. I will direct more funding into the classroom so that our teachers and students have the best chance to excel and succeed. I will fight to protect our hill country. We must protect and utilize our resources wisely. We have got to win in November. I'm the best candidate to win in November. I'm the only candidate in this race that has both the local support and endorsements and the statewide support and endorsements. I have outraised both of my primary opponents combined. Zwiener is going to be very well funded, and I have the fundraising abilities to win. I have the experience campaigning and the experience beating Democrats in House District 45. And I promise you, no one will outwork me, fighting for our freedoms and values important to us. Thank you.
All right, is that working? All right, thank you, Carrie. First question for Austin Talley. Why are you the best Republican candidate to defeat Aaron Zwiener in the general election?
I think I'm the best Republican candidate to beat Aaron Zwiener because, like I pointed out, Republicans, we've had the trifecta since 2006. So we can win campaigns, but we're not legislating the best. But I'm a fighter. I've seen what the Democrats are doing. They're doing exactly the same thing the military does when you go into another country. You always recruit, you always train, educate, and integrate. You empower into the organization, and you let them have leadership roles. Right now, presently, we're out-registered on voters 2-1. And the largest demographic come November, which is the millennial vote. I can beat Aaron Zwiener because I've been trying to say that for 2 years, almost 3 years now in this district all over Texas, that we have to adapt our marketing, our branding, and start executing effectively. I know how to do that because I had no choice to do that in the military. And when I go up against Aaron Zwiener, I can promise you, I have all the skills and experiences that I've accumulated having multiple real jobs the last 40 years of my life that I get to draw from. And I get to think off the cuff and off the hip and answer questions that she may not be answering the way it should be reflected here in Hays County. She doesn't represent even her own party. She represents the National Party, which is becoming socialist. She's endorsed Elizabeth Warren. I was just in a zombie movie yesterday. I had more young conservatives reach out and say that is the coolest thing. Well, if that's the largest demographic, and I'm starting to engage them in different things, we're going to bring them over and get them to vote. Vote Austin Talley. Go to tallyfortexas.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Austin. Next question for Bud Wymore. If you could only focus on one issue, what would it be?
Thank you, and I think that's a great question. What we have to look at as Republicans, what defines the heart and soul of our party? What separates us from Democrats? What do we fundamentally draw the line in the sand on? And that answer is unequivocally life. I said it in a forum last week, and I'll say it again this week. Give them everything they want. Wipe every other issue off of the table. We stand for life. If you give me a clear and an unobstructed path to abolishing Roe v. Wade, that's it. This generation, this collective generation sitting in this room, our collective social, moral, and conscience, how this generation is judged will be decided on how we respond to the issue of life. And it's important to look at the national narrative when we talk about this. What happened last year in the state of Virginia? Mind you, a state that voted for President George W. Bush. They now have a governor, Ralph Northam, that speaks of a child being born. And after that child is born, it's aborted. That's disgusting. And I don't know how we got here as a society, But that is a legitimate part of the discussion on life. And it's incumbent on us in this room and as conservative thinkers in the state of Texas to take that most precious, that most important issue and put it at the forefront of our thinking. We're all God's creatures. He calls us to love one another and to protect life. And if there's one issue above all else that I will stand for, it's protecting life. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Next question for Kerry Isaac. What are the key responsibilities of a member of the Texas House of Representatives?
To represent their constituents, to fight for issues that are important to their constituents and the state. Conservatives, if they're conservative, of course. That's all I can think of. I mean, the key issues,
The key issues.
whatever's important to their constituents. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next question for Austin Talley. Texas currently requires a permit to carry weapons in public. Should people who legally own a gun be able to carry it open or concealed without a permit? That's known as constitutional carry.
Yes, once again, I'm going to go back to what we've been doing since 2006. We have, what I was mistaken last at Blanco, it wasn't 15, it's 17 other states have constitutional carry. When is Texas going to catch up? We have 9 other states that have nullification of ATF requirements, meaning that if you're a resident of that state, you can buy a suppressor and take it home with you if you're a law-abiding citizen, as long as you can stay in the confinement of that state. You can't take it out of the state with you. Why are we paying federal tax dollars outside of the state of Texas to exercise our Second Amendment rights? I also think we need to ban the no gun-free zones, because if I'm a law-abiding citizen and I have the ability to carry a firearm, then why should I have to restrict myself going anywhere here in the state of Texas? So I fully support the Second Amendment. I've utilized it in the service of my country, defense of our freedom. I have a CHL. I carry it on me all the time. Other than right now, because I trust we have very skilled sheriffs and deputies in the room right now that are armed. And I don't want anybody to feel intimidated because I'm standing out here, but I think you good folks are fine with being around guns. But I fully support, and I don't think you need to have a license if you're a law-abiding citizen in the state of Texas. The Constitution is very clear. All we have to do is follow the instruction manuals. So men, let's follow these instruction manuals. Thank you.
But one more. What specifically will you do to reduce Texans' property tax burdens?
I think that dealing with property taxes is a multifaceted issue. And it starts with the analysis that we have a budget surplus in the state of Texas. What does that tell you from the very beginning? We're taxing people too much. That's just one part of the equation. The other problem is we're taxing people out of property and home ownership. That's unacceptable. So how do we fix it? And again, thank you to the legislature for doing good work last session. But it's not enough. Because everyone in this room knows what it's like to open up that property tax bill. You feel that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. You don't know what it's going to be. You don't know if you're going to have to go protest. I am a proponent of doing a couple of different things. One, putting an annual dollar cap on property tax increases so that you know when you go and open that bill, there's no more than $100, $200, whatever that reasonable number is, increase. There's certainty. And what's the result of that? I think that you are going to exponentially decrease the number of protests. And when you do that, you can eliminate a bloated bureaucracy. I mean, just think about it. If there's certainty, no one is going to protest. Maybe very small numbers. But that is great for eliminating a wasteful program if we can make it happen. The other thing that I would support is cutting rates, statutorily bringing them down and looking to an alternate funding mechanism. Slight increase on sales tax on non-essentials only. Not the milk, eggs, bread, cheese, but those non-essentials. And it must, and I want to be very clear here, it must result in a net decrease in taxes. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell. Terry Isaac, why are you the best Republican candidate to defeat Aaron Zwiner in the general election?
Because I have the local and the statewide support. I have the ability to fundraise. I have a well-oiled machine. I've been campaigning. Can you hear me? Hello? I've been campaigning for 10 years. We have a well-oiled machine. We have all the kinks worked out. We know how to win. We have defeated Democrats and House District 45 before, and we can do it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Austin Talley, the Speaker of the Texas House, Dennis Bonnen, is not running for re-election. Why is the Speaker of the House important in Texas, and what would you look at for a new Speaker?
Well, most importantly, I want the new speaker to have conservative values and sticks to the party plank. Dennis Bonham, obviously he's having bow out of disgrace, and I was the only candidate that called him out immediately because we have ethical standards that either violate the law or they're just violating our party standards, and he violated those. So he's bowing out, not running for re-election. I would love somebody like Matt Rinaldi, but he's no longer in office, because I want somebody to be extremely intelligent, understand the party platform, and have undying conservative values. We don't need any more moderates. We had 2 of those. We need somebody who's going to stick to the party platform and do additional work. We had over 1,000 bills passed. Their job is to assign committees, get those bills calendars so people can then go and vote and go through the legislation process. I don't think you as a taxpayer should have to pay for tax-paying lobby $41 million like we did last year if you select an effective state rep. Because I will walk that through the session process as far as I can and get enough people to understand why bills are important to get passed and why our party platform is important to get passed. And let's start from the top 100, not the bottom, because we passed 60 out of 332 last year. So I will help remind the Speaker of the House, the 3rd most important job at our state capitol, of what their intent is supposed to be doing. And that's sticking to our values as conservative Republicans and help us get as many effective bills as possible that doesn't overreach into your lives. Because their job is to protect life, liberty, and get out of your way so you can pursue happiness. Thank you.
Time for...
I just wanted to mention real quick, we're getting some terrific questions in, and pointed questions are fine. It's okay to ask a pointed question, but try to avoid the, when did you stop beating your wife kind of questions. They have to, I can't really put something like that out. So you want to have, a pointed question like, I'm not going to give an example, but you all understand what I'm saying. And also, if you could please put who the question is for. We can do a limited number of questions to all candidates, but we have some time, so please try and have specific questions for a specific candidate. Thank you so much, I do appreciate it.
Bud Wymore, why are you the best Republican candidate to defeat Aaron Zwiner in the general election?
When I think about this question, the word that comes to my mind is independent support, and I'm not talking about political independence, middle of the roaders, and also momentum. I want to point out something that was just said about fundraising. What Ms. Isaac said about how fundraising Austin meet combined. There are two campaign finance reports that just came out. One came out tail end of December, one came out within the last couple of weeks. In the last two fundraising periods, I have outraised both of my opponents combined. When everyone was in the game, when all of the candidates had announced, I outraised both of my opponents. Here's another important fact. In those campaign finance reports, and most importantly, the campaign finance report that covered the period from summer to the end of last year, when I raised the most, 84% of my donations came from in-district. No one came close to that number of in-district donations. My largest donation came from Ken Strange, one of the finest men that I know. And quite frankly, I'll tell you, if things had worked out the way they should last time, he would be our representative now and we wouldn't be up here. Something else I want to point out. Biggest donation for my opponent came from Washington, D.C., from a political action committee in Washington, D.C. Now, I want you to ask yourself a question. What do you want to see? The other thing that I'll point out is strong local support. Some of our party's most impactful leaders, Commissioner Smith, Mr. Strange, Commissioner Connolly, Commissioner Jones, our party's most impactful leaders locally have jumped on board and endorsed my campaign because they've seen me not operate not only in a political arena, but as a husband, a father, a business owner, and a devoted servant to this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Bud. In order to give each of the three candidates the same number of questions in this area, Carrie Isaac, would you describe yourself as a social conservative? And if so, what specifically does that mean to you?
Yes, I would describe myself as a conservative all around. I believe in religious liberties and our rights to keep and bear arms. I believe that in parental rights, I protect and I will fight parental rights. I'm very proud to have the endorsement of Texas Values Action, and they fight for a lot of our social issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. We're going to move into the part where each of the candidates have the opportunity to ask one of the other candidates a question. And we'll start with Austin Talley. Please state your question to whom and your question, and then the answer will also have 2 minutes.
How many veterans do we have in the crowd? So I run 3 national nonprofits and 2 local nonprofits that address issues from veterans' needs of PTSD, to home ownership, to finding job placement, to creating job if they can't find a job, and that's for the entire family unit. I don't care if the kid wants a job, we put them in an ecosystem to find success. So my question is to Carrie Isaac, who has on her campaign material, her website, and her Facebook, and all her social media platforms, if $250,000 that was raised for her nonprofit, that's an educational nonprofit, is being scoped in her campaign helping veterans, is $1,200 out of $250,000 equitable? And is that a good stewardship of donor dollars, which is going to be needed to be a good steward of tax dollars? So is that equitable, $1,200 helping veterans in our community out of $250,000?
Carrie, do you have a response?
Yes, Austin Talley has dug into some financials of a nonprofit that I help run. And the money donated to this nonprofit was seed money to pay staff. We have partnered with other organizations to pay our contractors. And actually, one of our partners was just awarded the 2019 Gold Hired Vets Medallion Award from the U.S. Department of Labor. So this is a witch hunt by one of my opponents that is desperate. Because he can't let us go.
Austin, please, this is Carrie's response, and I don't think a lot of people heard your last response, so you have time to
This
repeat
is
that.
just a desperate attack from someone who can't win on his own merits. It's a witch hunt.
All right, thank you, Carrie. Bud Weimar, do you have a question for one of your opponents?
I do. I want to, if you'll indulge me, Patrick, I want to lay a brief foundation on this. In 2013, I was hired by some landowners in Travis County, Texas. The day after Christmas, they awoke to the sound of bullets from a gun range, a very newly opened gun range, entering their property. One bullet shattered a window on my client's property, and traveled through and landed on a desk and embedded itself in a stack of files. Another bullet struck a hose. My client's son threw himself atop his nephew to protect him from oncoming bullets. I filed this suit on behalf of the city of Creedmoor and some landowners named John and Carla Gray and their company. Our lawsuit was so meritorious that Texas Disposal Systems joined in the lawsuit as a plaintiff. They sued that gun range with us, and the owner of Texas Disposal Systems gave me authority to say what we did was right. This wasn't about the Second Amendment, it was about private property rights and safety.
Do you have a question?
I'll briefly touch on I'm sorry, Patrick. The second lawsuit, the range agreed to make modifications, and it still operates to this day. The third lawsuit in Williamson County, a Republican judge signed an order saying the range presents a threat to human life, not only to the people on property, but to those traveling on the neighboring road and railroad tracks. And that was after we found hundreds of bullets on that property. I'm getting there. In describing these lawsuits, Carrie, what you said is my opponent has sought to frivolously sue and shut down gun ranges. Now, those are the three lawsuits. Will you tell me what about those lawsuits is frivolous?
Carrie, do you have a response?
Yes. I said some of them were. I'm not saying all three. You really like to talk about one in particular, I understand why. But you are using liberal judges to fight and to prevent us from exercising our Second Amendment rights. And I will stand by that comment. And when my husband, when Texas State Rifle Association came to my husband and asked him to file and pass legislation to protect gun ranges from frivolous lawsuits like you have filed, you called him up and yelled and screamed at him. And he was also awarded. We were on the front page of the Texas State Rifle Association because of that bill that my husband passed to protect gun ranges from lawsuits just like yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Both Austin and Bud took a little time as a predicate or lay a foundation for the question. Do you have the same courtesy? And do you have a question for one of your two opponents? All right. Do you have a question for one of your opponents?
Your consultant knew that my boys received death threats to Jason's Capitol office saying, "We know where your boys go to school and we know where you live." He knows that we moved our boys to a small school with 2 full-time police officers on campus. Now that you've sent out several mail pieces letting everyone know exactly where my boys are every day, this is very unnerving to me, my husband, my mom and dad, my family in the background back there, very unnerving to us. Will you keep my boys out of your political smear pieces in the future?
Well, listen, I appreciate the opportunity to bring that up. And I guess the direct answer is I haven't. Now, given occasion to share information, one, I don't know what my consultant does or doesn't know. You can make that claim, but what happens with your boys, I don't discuss it, and I don't know it. And I don't want you to have bad things happen. I don't want your boys to hear those things or see those things, nor do I want you to. I don't think anyone deserves that. But what I do think is important is honesty and transparency in these very important issues. And why I say that is because the one undeniable, the one unescapable fact that we have in all of this is that when Jason lost his run for Congress, you put your house in Hays County on the market, and $21,000 in campaign funds were spent not only on an apartment, but an apartment in Austin. And when Jason was still our state representative, you sold your house. There's a deed filed in the real property records in Hays County, Texas. For the last 40 days of Jason's term as our state representative, there was no residence in Hays County on record. $21,000. And folks, this is the question that you have to ask yourself. If you were a lame duck representative not seeking any office, would you take $21,000 that was trusted to you to be used for campaign purposes, and would you use it to furnish an apartment out of district? And folks, over $2,000 a month in rent. Over $2,000 a month in rent alone. Or would you take it and give it to conservative causes? Maybe that $21,000 could have gone to Ken Strange, and it might have helped him win.
All right.
But it didn't.
Thank you, buddy. So, Carrie, I'm going to give you a little time to respond. So, do you have any response to what Bud had to say?
Oh, first, you didn't answer my question.
The answer is I haven't used it.
You haven't used my boys? You
No, I haven't.
You sent out several mail pieces telling them where they live.
All right,
You put a map.
I'm gonna go back to the Q&A. Carrie, if you just have a comment, I'll give you the time to make a comment, but we're not gonna get into arguments about this. I'd like to move on to other individual questions unless you have a comment.
Yes, the whole article in the Hays Free Press was fabricated and planted by Bud and his campaign. His campaign consultant does hundreds of thousands of dollars with the Hays Free Press owners. We know this because we've had the same consultant. If he's so concerned with this being an ethics issue, why hasn't he complained? Why hasn't he filed an ethics complaint? Because he knows there's no there. The ethics complaint.
Please wrap up your comments. We're gonna move into individual questions.
Why do we, this stuff was filed, the reason the Hays Free Press knows about this is because Jason listed it on his report and turned it into the Ethics Commission. There was nothing, there's no there. And this was in 2018. Why do you think the Hays Free Press all of a sudden found this newsworthy? All of a sudden. Maybe because his wife's running against Bud Wymore, who has connections with the paper?
All right, Carrie, thank you very much. We're going to move into individual questions from the audience. We only have about 18 minutes, so if y'all want to give some time back so we have time for more questions, please feel free. Otherwise, we'll stick with the 2 minutes. Austin Talley, a question from the audience. How long were you in the military, and what was your rank at discharge?
I'm still in the military. I went back in the reserves. I did 4 years in the Navy, a little over 4 years in the Navy. And then I went into the Army Reserves. Still presently in the Army Reserves. Flip-flopped a few times between National Guard, depending on what unit was available in proximity. I reached the rank of Staff Sergeant, changed MOSs, so I had to go down to Corporal, and then changed MOS a third time. I'm in a Sergeant slot as a specialist waiting for my Chief Warrant Officer school date. So when I get out of there, I'll be a WO1. And I graduated OCS successfully. I declined my commission because I went to go work for the federal government. The federal government said they could have me downrange in 8 weeks, where I was looking at 3 years of follow-on training. So I'm currently serving in the military. I was infantry, human intelligence. Now I'm going into another job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Austin. Bob, you have a question from the audience. Do you think negative campaigning works?
Well, yeah, I think the question assumes that something is negative. And I'm going to tell you, for whatever mailers you receive from me, information is factual. Let's go back to these reports that we talked about. In Austin, I think Austin said it exactly right just a second ago. When Austin says something, it's a witch hunt. When I say something, it's fake news. But folks, go pull the real property records in Hays County. Go pull the campaign finance reports. It's not okay to take tens of thousands of dollars, spend it on a residence, and then say, well, heck, it's legal. Folks, we're looking to a higher standard here. What is right? Is that really going to be the response in standing up to Aaron's Wiener in November? Don't you wag your finger at me, because what I did is legal. We stand for something more. There's deep-rooted ethical principles. When someone gives you money for a purpose, campaign finance funds, it is a campaign finance report. And when you are not campaigning and you furnish an apartment that costs over $2,000 a month in rent alone, that is not for a campaign finance purpose. It's not negative. It's factual. Thank you.
Thank you, Bud. Carrie, with all the continued rapid growth of Hays County, how would you help to provide a solution to the transportation needs?
Jason rented the apartment because
Carrie, that
he was
wasn't
closing down
Carrie,
his
if I
apartment.
may, that wasn't the question, but I will ask you this question then, if you want to go there. Where did the $18,000 come from for an apartment? That's from the audience.
Okay. So Jason was closing down his office, and we had our house for sale. We were told that we should not put constituent data in a house where realtors had access to the files. Jason rented this apartment. It's full of boxes. He was going through stuff, shutting down his office. You can say we used it for personal reasons, but that is not true. That's an allegation. You cannot prove that. So that's why I have other points I want to make here. Oh, okay. So yeah, Aaron Zwiener will use this against me. Guess what? Patrick Rose spent hundreds of thousands of dollars lying about my husband on television when we ran against him. Okay? There are going to be lies, and I know exactly what lies I know what she'll use against Bud, but I don't feel the need to send out mailers telling everybody what Bud has done in the primary. That just does nothing but divide us, and it weakens our party. If y'all read this article, it's funny. The Democrat in the article says, I don't see a problem. But you know what? The other attorney that just happens to be one of Bud's first donors and has endorsed Bud, yeah, that's not fishy. And yes, Bud says that he did not involve my boys. He sent out a map with a star showing everyone exactly where my boys are every day. And he denies that he said anything about the boys. He's put them in harm's way, and I don't appreciate it.
Thank you, Carrie. Austin Talley, what is your position on the Kinder Morgan natural gas pipeline plan to go through the Texas Hill Country?
I've met with Kinder Morgan quite a few times, and because of the property rights and eminent domain issues that we experienced when I was going to high school in New Braunfels when they built that $62 million 4-lane road with park benches and lots of pretty trees on about a mile right there on Walnut. That was abuse of power in eminent domain. I told Kendra Morgan, I said, these are good people. I said, I grew up ranching, I grew up farming. I said, you might want to go do this. And have a true negotiation with people who deserve more than just a notice, hey, we're taking your land. Do I believe that, yes, energy is for the greater good of Texas when it comes to education, health, and other issues that are important to everybody as a whole of residents of Texas? Yes, I agree. That's why I'm in the industry. I want Texas to go from 10th strongest economy to 7th strongest economy, and I think I can do that in less than 4 years. We have the #1 in cotton, #1 in cattle, and we're #3 in oil and gas, and #1 in export in oil and gas. So I think Kendall Morgan could have done it better. Do I still think pipelines are 100 times more safer than trucks on the road? Yeah, I do. Maybe that's personal to me because my dad was hit head on when I was 16 years old, coming from Laredo from Baton training class when he was a federal agent. And he got hit. The 18-wheeler went across 2 lanes, a double wide medium, and hit my dad head on. Newspaper reported him dead. I don't want those trucks on this road. We already have enough problems in 290. But I want our economy to be strong, and I want the negotiation to be fair and balanced for the good folks of Case County and Blanco. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Red Longmore, with the continued rapid growth of Hays County, how would you help to provide a solution to the transportation needs?
Well, I think like anything in politics, it comes down to relationships. And I am very thankful that we've got great county commissioners across Hays County and in Blanford County. Commissioner Smith does a wonderful job for the folks here in Dripping Springs, as does Commissioner Shell and Commissioner Jones. And I'm proud to be endorsed by Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Jones. A lot of what you see in terms of infrastructure and transportation, that's going to fall on the backs of our county commissioners. But what they need is a strong voice, a strong representative of the capital that will work hand in hand with the county to, one, intimately understand the county's transportation needs. Unbelievably rapid growth in this area. And taking time to have those relationships, continue to grow those relationships, and understand the county's needs, and then say, I'm going to work for you at the Capitol to ensure that we have resources that are brought to the county to meet its needs, is exactly what we need. And I can promise you, if elected as your next state representative, that will be one of my top priorities. You know, knocking on doors, talking to people. Sometimes we talk about the national politics, sometimes we talk about the social issues, but by and large, people want to know about 2 things: property taxes and transportation. I've seen where this district's been. I remember when this was a one-stoplight town, as was Buda. Working to make sure that we have the resources at the county level, the states working hand in hand, will be the most important thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Terry Isaac, this is a specific question with your name on it. Please tell us what your plan is to work on a way to somehow lower our property taxes. It's becoming cost prohibitive for lots of people to live here.
Yes, I would like to see a more strict spending cap at the state level of population plus inflation. And then I would like to see the remaining revenue used to buy down on maintenance and operations school taxes. That's the largest tax that we pay. That makes up about 40 to 50% of our property taxes. This plan would also eliminate Robin Hood recapture, which steals from every single school district in House District 45. I do not support a fixed amount increase like my opponent does. I will work to cut your taxes. We need a true fiscal conservative representative and House District 45, and that is me. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Austin Talley, this one has your name on it from an audience member. Will you release your tax returns for your own nonprofits?
They're already released. You can go to any one of the nonprofits that I do business with because we're so transparent, ethical. OSD, headquarters here in Dripping Springs, our international warehouse that's supported 1.2 million deployed personnel overseas the last 9 years. Our 990s are on our website. Bunker Labs, 990s on our website. Project K9, 990s on our website. Our Digital Heroes, 990s on our website. Because we're 100% transparent. OSD just won its 4th Platinum Transparency Award. We're operating at 92 cents of every dollar that you give us, we use for the intended use. And we've raised millions. NASCAR partners with us, Getty partners with us. You name it, they're our partners because they love the ethical standard that we hold ourselves to. I get paid $0 for doing all of it. It's because it's my passion. I got tired of my men and women killing themselves, which killed my cousin. He did the same thing. He's sitting at College Station, beautiful girlfriend, and he made a pact with his buddy at 101st. And he found out his buddy lived up to it, killed himself in Colorado. My cousin killed himself the next day. I got off my butt and I decided I was going to make it my mission to do more. And I do that in everything I do. If you're not working 16 to 20-hour days at the state capitol for 140 days, you don't deserve the job. I promise you, nobody will ever outwork me. That's why I have 5 nonprofits and 5 for-profits. It's just another day for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Warren, what legislation will you support to fix the border process?
You know, that's a very tough issue to address, and here's why. Because so much of what we do at the border is federal. But I'll explain this. I think it's a two-pronged problem. One, that the issue is, what is it that we're doing to push people away? But also, what are we doing to pull people to us? I don't blame people for wanting to come to America. This is the greatest place that's existed in the history of the world. But we can't simply allow people to come. So first, I think Texas, and we need a strong voice in this office that understands we need a wall. It's about standing for the right ideas in so many ways. Build the wall because it's going to help stem the tide and stop the flood. What we also have to do is look at if Texas can be part of sending more resources. Do we need to send in the National Guard at times? When we've got people that are en masse saying that they're claiming refugee status, what can Texas do to help stem that tide? And I would support that. The other thing is, what are we doing to pull people to the United States of America? The health care, the education, the other entitlements. Those are things that people want, and I don't blame them. But they're putting a strain on our taxpayers and on our system. What I would like to see is legislation put in place that takes on one important issue. The Supreme Court said decades ago that any child in the United States is entitled to a free public education, whether or not they're here legally. I would love to lay the foundation at the state level to challenge that Supreme Court decision, just like challenging Roe v. Wade, so that we can make sure we're not inducing and enticing people to come to this country. We take those incentives away, we start to solve the problem.
Thank you, Doug. Carrie Isaac, a member of the audience, wants to know, what committees will you request to be on and why?
Ways and Means. And if I could wave a magic wand, it'd be appropriations. And calendars, because they have the most power. Thank you.
Thank you,
They
Carrie.
have the most power, too.
We have time for another round of questions, or 5 minutes. We got time for one more round of questions before closings. Austin Talley, if you could only focus on one issue, what would it be? Just one.
That's what I think the problem is we get candidates that are hyper focused. I apologize. I refuse to do that. I'm not going to do that. I can't do that running the amount of companies that I run and nonprofits I run. I can't hyper focus. I believe in giving meaningful execution in everything I do. Unite teams, complete objectives, ensure we have mission success, no matter what. So my one focus, top 100 priorities in our party. Thank you.
Bud Lockmore, you have sued and shut down several gun ranges. How can we trust you to stand up for the Second Amendment?
Can you repeat that?
Yes, you have been sued and shut down several gun ranges. How can we trust you to stand up for the Second Amendment?
Well, I'll start by saying I support constitutional carry. Understanding the Constitution, loving the Constitution, and protecting the Constitution. That doesn't mean that you distort an issue. Folks, I think it's sad. This is good legal work. It was exceptional legal work. I was proud to stand with the owners of Texas Disposal Systems. And I was proud that Bob Gregory said, yes, go on ahead, bud. Use my name. You attribute whatever you want. And you tell anyone that will listen. The collective work that we did wasn't about the Second Amendment. It was about private property rights. It was about protecting life. You know, when I talked earlier about protecting life, that doesn't just mean that we protect life of defenseless children. We understand that life at all points is sacred. And I want everyone in this room to think, what would you do? You woke up December 26, 2013. You heard rifles in the distance. You stepped outside. A bullet shatters your window. Your son comes running in the house, crying because he's just thrown himself atop his nephew. They picked up the phone and they called me. I solved a problem they couldn't solve for themselves. And folks, this isn't liberal judges. It's up in Williamson County, Texas. Judge Rick Kennan, a strong conservative Republican, signed an order saying this range presents a threat to human life. Not only to those on the property, but on the county road and the train tracks that abut the property. Republicans understand it. This isn't about the Second Amendment. This is about life and property, the most sacred of our liberties, and I will stand for constitutional carry.
Thank you, Bud. Carrie, with the continued rapid growth of Hays County, how would you help to provide a solution to the transportation needs?
Well, I would work well with TxDOT. I know my husband actually worked well with TxDOT. He was able to get Rancho 12 resurfaced, 290 resurfaced, 1826 widened, all ahead of schedule, because he knows how to work with them, and so do I. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. That finishes the questions from the audience. We're going to move into the closing. Each candidate again has 3 minutes. The yellow will be at 2.5, the red will be at 3, and we'll start with Austin Talley.
I can't thank everybody enough for coming out tonight. You're all choosing to be informed voters. But you're not a voter. You're a hiring manager. This is a hiring interview. I guarantee everybody in this room has either been on the other side of the table in a hiring, applying for a job, or they've been the hiring manager, or those who own small businesses have hired everybody that works for them. This is a hiring interview. So you got to look at proven skill sets, proven experiences. It's not because it's related to anybody. It's because they get it. because that's what is going to be needed when they're doing the job at legislation. They have to resort to experiences that are tried and proven. What hurdle did they face before to overcome that obstacle? What did they do? It's not constantly calling somebody and saying, hey, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? Because I can't be a federal agent because my dad did the job for 24 years. But I did some pretty cool stuff when I was global response staff. Same people that did the job in Benghazi fought for Americans. I did it because it got me in the battlefield. And that is the most perspective that I'll ever have in life. When somebody asks me at any jobs prior to me becoming an entrepreneur, how are you going to handle the stresses? I'm like, I'm okay. I think I can compare something to my past life and I can get through this endeavor. I was also human intelligence. I have to convince people to go against all of their ideologies and join Team America. I can promise you, I can convince a non-morally corrupt Republican to join, hey, conservative values. Let's start executing. I promise you, I can do that to a Democrat. They live in our freedoms, so I just gotta work with that socialism side. You know, or hopefully we get them kicked out. We don't have to deal with it. We just deal with Republicans and soft Republicans. I can get them on the team to complete the objectives that are needed. So that's what I'm asking you. At the end of this job interview, tonight, when you're walking out those doors, is this somebody that I would employ because I know they're going to do the job better than expected? They're going to be self-starters, motivated. They know how to unite teams, complete the tasks that are needed to get to the next step, and next step, and next step. So that way, none of us have to do what we all do because we're passionate. How many are at March for Life? How many at 2A rallies? How many protest see property inflated values? Why are we constantly at marches? Somebody asked me, oh, I wish I would have been at that March for Life. That was like thousands and thousands, like 10,000 people there. I'm like, nah, I hope you missed it. And we never have to do it again. You vote for Austin Talley, and I promise you, we'll never have to march for a thing again.
Thank you, Austin. Bud Wymore, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, each and every one of you, for taking time to be here tonight. I know that there are a lot of other things you could have done. You could have spent time with your families, but you chose to be here because you love this country, because you love this state. You know, one of the toughest things about this entire process has been the shift in what I have to do on a daily basis. My wife, Amy, my 4 kids, Kent, Isla, Abigail, and Avery, who are all here, they've had to do with a lot less of me. And it's tough. There are days I absolutely hate it. It pulls at my heart. Because there's no better place in the world to be than home. It's the place where you're loved. It's the place where you're safe. It's a place that you're most accepted. When I use those words, what I'm describing is this county. I look around and I see faces that transcend politics. I haven't been campaigning in this district for 10 years. My family's been living here for 36 years. I haven't been beating Democrats in this district for 10 years. I've been building relationships for almost 4 decades. It's because I love this place. Thankfully, my wife decided to come here. She could have gone anywhere. Her dad was a fighter pilot, and he said, no, you're going to Texas. That's where in-state tuition is. So I was fortunate enough to have him make that decision. But when you look at what you're choosing someone to do, you're not choosing a politician. You're choosing a statesman. Who loves this place? Whose heart is invested here? Who wants to see what is the absolute best for each and every one of you? And when politics is off the table, when it's all said and done, who's going to be here? those same public schools that I grew up in. I'm watching my kids grow up in them. I'm serving on the campus leadership team because my heart's there. And these endorsements that I've earned, some of them are politics, but I'm going to tell you what, the overwhelming majority of them are personal relationships. People that I not only like and respect, people that I love. And that only happens with time and devotion. And I'd be honored to have your vote.
Thank you, Bill. Carrie Isaac, you have 3 minutes.
I've been involved in my community for 15 years. I believe that nonprofits and churches do a much better job taking care of our neighbors in need. And that's why I have volunteered on the Helping Hands Food Pantry Board for 10 years. I am proud of my involvement in my boys' schools. Brewster Springs Elementary School recognized my volunteer hours by dedicating a book in my name to their library. Jason and I started the Dripping Springs lacrosse program here. We have hosted the Dripping Springs Fire in the Sky 4th of July celebration, giving proceeds back to our first responders for the last 8 years. Health and wellness is my passion. I have a master's degree in health education and I am an Ironman, which means I swam, biked, and ran 140.6 miles in less than 17 hours. I am mentally and physically tough. These skills will help me win in November, and they will also serve me well those late nights on the House floor. I've also been politically involved in this community for 10 years. I am a founding member of the Hays County Republican Women's Group. I've served as a delegate and alternate delegate several years to the Republican Party State Convention. I have been block walking, phone banking, working the polls, helping Republicans up and down the ballot every single election cycle for the last 10 years. I've endorsed by the NRA, Texas State Rifle Association, Texas Right to Life, Pro-Life Texas, Texas Values Action, Texas Homeschool Coalition, Texas Association of Business, Texas Chiropractic Association, Texas State College Republicans, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller, Texas Railroad Commissioner Wayne Christian, Texas State Board of Education member Ken Mercer. But most importantly, I'm endorsed by over 200 local community leaders, including over 50 current and former elected officials. Aaron Zwiener voted against taxpayers every time, against our free speech, against our Second Amendment, against our unborn, and against Christians. I'm the best candidate to beat her in November. I have the local and statewide support. I have the fundraising abilities and the experience. We must keep Texas free. Free from gangs and drug cartels. Free from business-crushing regulations. Free from gun-grabbing politicians. Free from leftist dogma in our schools. And free from leftists like Aaron Zwiener who want to reform our state. Keep Texas free. Vote Carrie Isaac. Thank you.
Let's give a great applause for all 3 of our candidates. We're not through. We're not through. Y'all stay there. Let's give this amazing woman here, Suzanne, and her team a wonderful round of applause because is she great at detail? Putting something like this together has been an amazing task for her, and she's done an amazing job. John, you did okay too back there. But please let's just give her a great hand of applause.
Thank you, Patrick, for helping us out tonight. You did a terrific job as moderator. And I want to reiterate what Patrick said. I've been stressed out about this forum for the past month, and I don't even have anything at stake. I mean, if you imagine the amount of pressure these people are under and how brutal it is to run for office, I thank you all for being here. You're terrific. I am so pleased that we have such a strong bench of candidates this time around, and I know that we will retake this seat. Thank you very much. attention for just a couple more minutes. We have some brief announcements, and I'd also like to introduce Mr. Mark DeRazio from the State Republican Executive Committee will come to address us for just a couple minutes, and then I have a couple of announcements after that. Mark, come on up.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'm your State Republican Executive Committee member for Senate District 25, and we have the responsibility, the fiduciary responsibility to run the state party while the convention is not in session. And so that's what we do. I'm on the officials committee, and we actually make the decisions on how the money is getting spent. I was on the arrangements committee, and we determine the locations of where the conventions are going to be held. And it'll be held in Houston this year, and it'll be held in Houston in 2022. And and I will be running for the State Republican Executive Committee again this session. So that's all I have, and I want to thank you very much, Susan, for the great work you're doing. Thank you.
Nancy Brittner, if you could come on up for a minute. Nancy has an announcement about the war group forum coming up.
Just wanted to let everyone know that on Thursday night at the Wimberley Community Center, we're hosting another HD45 forum. If you did not get enough tonight, we'd love to have you at the Community Center on Thursday.
Thank you, Nancy. I would like to remind all of the candidates here this evening that all of the campaign signs need to be removed before you leave tonight. So if you could do that, I appreciate it. We have, if you are a member or wish to become a member of the North Hayes Republican Group, Dan Robinson is our treasurer, and he will be taking dues and applications if you'd like to. And finally, please enjoy yourself outside. We have Mary Clarkson, who's created some incredible snacks, and go socialize and have fun. Thank you so much for attending. Really appreciate it. Thank you.